How many times, dear listener, have you invested in yourself and it's been a total disaster? Because when we make the decision, 10 times out of 10, we finally go do the thing when we finally set our minds to do it.
Well, hello, and welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show. And this week, I'm super excited to introduce you to Lizette Warner, PhD. So, Dr. Lizette Warner is a smart rewiring scientist, executive coach, and former chief science officer. So cool. Who now serves as COO of Trust and Leadership Coaching. With over 20 years of global leadership and scientific experience, she helps senior executives accelerate promotions, make better decisions under pressure, and prevent burnout using neuroscience-backed tools and measurable frameworks that guarantees a career acceleration. Her work has been featured in Fast Company, TEDx, and with organizations like Philips, GE, KPMG, and UNICEF. And she is also the best-selling author of Power, Poise, and Welcome to the show. I'm so excited that you're here.
Hey, Amanda, that was such an amazing intro. Like, I want to meet this lady. She sounds pretty cool.
Well, they say it's very important to know thyself. So I'm really glad that you're here. Dear listener, Lizette and I met in a business incubator that we both participate in, and we had a little moment at the side. And I was just so impressed, Lizette, with the way that you love to serve people and that deeper understanding. I think that scientist in you really comes through, but it's also so people centric. So I'm curious, like, why people? What is it about this field and helping senior executives perform even more effectively? What is it about that really draws you in? You're brilliant. You could do anything.
Yeah, people are funny creatures, right?
Yeah, we are.
Oftentimes, when I explain my story from going chief science officer to now I'm a chief coaching officer, and they're like, wait, those are two separate things. Like, how did you go from tech to helping people? And really, it was my own journey, right? When I had this disjointed career where I started at work and then I went and got my PhD and then I went back to work and after this 4 or 5 year hiatus, and I just didn't want to dink around trying to climb corporate ladders. So I, with the help of a coach, accelerated my career. And I was so impressed with that relationship and what it did for me that I then ended up getting my coaching certification. I started coaching inside of the company and outside of the company. And I was like, I started using my skills as a leader, using coaching skills. And so it was a natural progression to just I'm gonna do this. When I was using coaching within the team, it was just amazing what I was able to get for people. And I love being able to serve and help people grow and help people see that next step. I mean, I wish that had I had a coach in my first outing in my career, I may have not gotten my PhD. Right? I fell into the trap of thinking like, "Oh, I got to go get my PhD so that I can get ahead." No, 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 no. You really don't. You really don't need that certification. I mean, it was a great experience and I'm glad that I got it because at this point now I can pivot and use a lot of my learnings into what I do now. But in order to get ahead, you don't need that. So I love people, I love serving, and so that's kind of how I made that transition from chief science officer to chief coaching officer.
I love that. And I think that it's so interesting on the internet streets. There's a lot of conversation about the what's next for our next generation, especially. And I think that's such a really powerful call out around credentialing and like when is credentialing genuinely required versus can you get there in another form or fashion? And in terms of like people are funny creatures. That is a great call out. But I think what's so interesting too about your story is that you found out that you love coaching by doing it, and getting exposure to it. And at first being a client and then seeing how powerful that was, it makes a lot of sense. And in my own journey, I think I became a coach before I ever hired a coach. But it was kind of the same thing. I was presented with this opportunity in the workplace to have a different sort of conversation, which I later learned was coaching. So, dear listener, there's a big takeaway here that you learn so much more by doing the thing and being exposed to the thing than fixing to and getting ready to do it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's so good.
100%. Yeah, that fixing to, getting ready to do, analyzing it, planning it. Yeah, that's great. But sometimes we can get stuck there. You can get stuck in
Absolutely.
the fixing to, planning on it, I'm thinking about it. I see it with clients all the time, right? Who want the promotion but don't want to make the investment because that's a lot of money. Well, how much is that promotion? So if we delay on that, how much are you actually losing? And not just this promotion, but the one that's coming after that one. Now you're setting yourself on this whole delay scheme, right? And so I think people a lot of times need to realize that by delaying that action, right? By not doing, you can miss out, right?
Yes, and when I look at something like coaching, it's so interesting because I would categorize it in a broader family of alternative education, so. And what's cool about alternative education, and you have the experience at the PhD, is that, yeah, sure, you might be paying for it because it costs you something to deliver it. But compared to a traditional education, in a brick and mortar institution to get a credential, typically it's a lot slower to go that route. Typically it's a lot more expensive to go that route. Typically you have to learn a lot of things that aren't the thing to go that
Hmm.
route. So when you hire a coach, it really is this personalized experience that's tailored to you. Now, talk to me a little bit more about the desire that people have to get promoted. Like for real, what gets in the way? Why aren't they just getting the promotion already?
So many things here. And that's such a beautiful question, Amanda, because it oftentimes people think the thing that's getting in my way is like, okay, I don't have the executive presence. I'm not
Mm.
showing up the way that I need to, right? And oftentimes it's sometimes people think I need to have the this or the that, right? I need this skill. I need to go get my MBA because then that'll demonstrate that I'm worthy, right, of the thing, of the role. And oftentimes, what we end up teaching our leaders is you have to get your nervous system ready to lead. Because when you become a leader, if you're, dear listener, you're already a leader. 100%, you're already a leader. Somebody is following you.
Someone's
You're
looking to
setting
you.
you're setting the example for somebody else. So it's a matter of what kind of leader are you now? And are you positioning yourself to be recognized as that leader, whether that leader is you're drawing people towards you to work with you, or you're shining out your skills so that you're recognized for that next position, and it starts with you. A lot of the work is internal, it's an inside job. A lot
Oof.
of the work is an inside job, and a lot of times people think it's an external thing, right? I got to go get the certification. I got to get the MBA. I got to get the this. I got to get this skill. And yes, there is a certain amount of skill, but I've seen so many people who are unskilled in a high level of leadership. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you've experienced it. How on earth did they get to where they are? And it is because they have the other thing that people are looking for that they haven't done the work. It's all an inside job. And so oftentimes people, when they have that twitch and a gulp about, investing in themselves and working with someone to help them, it's really helping them see that, look, this is an investment in you. How many times, dear listener, have you invested in yourself and you have it's been a total disaster? How many times? I'm going to guess it's probably fairly zilch. Because when we make the decision to, I'm going to do this, guess what? 10 times out of 10, we finally go do the thing when we finally set our minds to do it. So really the thing, to get to the root of what you asked, Amanda, it's an inside job. And that's why it's not a quick, let me go get this certification, let me go get this LinkedIn learning that I can do in 30 minutes. So now I got the badge on my LinkedIn, the whole world sees it. It is that inside job that then shows other people because you're showing up 100% different. And it all starts
So
from the
good.
inside.
Yeah, and that's the hard part, isn't it? And I really, this is one of the reasons that I absolutely love coaching is because yes, it is an inside job. Like I've had many clients over the years, and I can tell you that the people who really thrive in whatever their endeavor was that they hired me, whether they're building a business or they're expanding, like it really did come down to how they saw themselves from within. So specifically, like, do they see their future identity for real in that future state? And it's so funny to me because, like, I see it a lot I spend more time in entrepreneurship than I do in the corporate land these days. But I see the same thing. It's like I should be getting more clients or I should be earning at a higher level. And, kind of the rude response in my brain might be, should you? Right? Like, should you really? If you're being very honest. And I heard something really brilliant the other day. I thought it was brilliant. I'd love to hear you argue with me if you disagree. I think it was Jimmy Carr. He said, when you are where you are and then you see where you want to go, if you're blaming everybody else and your circumstances, that's entitlement. But if you are where you are and you see where you want to go and you're willing to do the work to get there, that's ambition. And I loved it because as a coach, I'm like, that's it. My clients that are very successful, I've noticed that they have that inner drive within that is very ambitious,
Hmm.
but they're also willing to do the work to get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's a kicker, right? It's having that ambition. And I think the other piece to that, Amanda, is oftentimes people think like, oh, I should, just like you said, right? I should be further along in this, or I should have, like, I don't need to do this work because here I am. I have all of this expertise and experience, right? And you may find this too, right? You work with different people, different, let's say, entrepreneurs, or even if they're in the workplace, they're at different. Oftentimes what I tell my entrepreneurs is you're an established leader in your expert zone. But in this zone where you're entering, you're just now starting a business, guess what? You're a rising star. And so you've got some skills that you need to develop. So yes, the ambition is super important, but sometimes we need to flash that truth to the client of where they actually are. And then it's like the light bulb goes on. I'm like, oh, yes, I am very skilled over here, but in this area, I need a lot of work.
A rising star. Yes, I love that. It's beautiful because it's very honoring of the person and their intent and their ambition. But at the same time, it really does acknowledge you need to be humble, I think. And if a few years ago I learned the definition of humble, I always thought that humble meant small or meek, and that's not it at all. It's actually grounded to the earth. Like, it literally means grounded to the earth. And so that rising star status, I'm like, that lets you be humble. It lets you accept that you are a rising star, but maybe you're not at the top of this mountain because it's a new one, you
Yeah,
know? I love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
What
It's a
what do
it's a
you
brand new one.
for anybody listening who maybe they find themselves in this grind, kind of in that hamster wheel of doom of doing the same thing in and out, and they're feeling a lot of crossroads kind of energy. These are people that I encounter a lot in our community where they're like, I'm kind of doing this over here, but I feel like my heart might be over there, but maybe I should be doubling down over here. And they just kind of get caught in this spinning cycle. What would you say to that person who's trying to decide what's next?
Yeah. So in that case, so here's where I default. So my scientific background tells me that this very interesting, like, science fact. You have a ton of neurons, right, in your brain. But guess what? Your body, your gut is called the second brain because of the amount of neural connections that you have from your gut to your cerebellum. So you have a lot, and that's the piece that a lot of people don't connect the dots with, right? They think it's all a mental game, and it is to a certain extent, but you know what? You've got a lot of body wisdom. So if you're feeling this angst or this, hamster wheel, and again, you're feeling it, what is that feeling telling you? And oftentimes we don't sit there at all, let alone not enough at all. And that's where this beautiful relationship with a coach who will drag you to those depths, right? To uncover what is that wisdom that's there. Because then once you uncover that, now you can move, right? All of this angst is usually an indicator of something that your body's trying to tell you. And oftentimes we ignore it to our detriment because the body will always win, whether it's you end up having a headache to you end up having TMJ or you end up with some disease, your body will speak to you. And oftentimes we don't listen. We ignore and we move forward. So what I would say to that, Amanda, is what do you think your body is trying to tell you? And it's not woo woo, it is 100% science.
That's so good. And yes, that's very true. I mean, I've been working with high performers and high achievers for a really long time. Number one thing that we talk about to raise awareness of like, maybe I am in this conflict zone. Maybe I am feeling like I'm not clear on my direction and where I want to go, whether it's up in this organization that I'm in, or whether I want to transfer outside, or whether I want to start my own thing. Take a look too at your coping mechanisms, right? And those coping behaviors, because very often when we're uncomfortable with it, people are now turning to screens. Like, screen time is the new smoking. And hey, stay here if you're if you're watching us on the YouTube. I see you. No, but seriously, it's like just being super aware of like, where is the intentionality going of the spending, and how do I feel about it, and just like kind of bringing that all to bear, because I think it is addictive to try to get very heady about where I should go and what I should do. And I always say the fun is in the fundamentals. Like, if fundamentally you're finding yourself getting sucked into your phone all the time, or fundamentally you find yourself coping with cookies or worse, then that also your body through consumption pattern saying something,
It's a
right? And
signal.
if you don't get rid of that noise, it's so hard to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And beautiful example of that, Amanda. I was just telling a group this morning. Obviously, I'm a coach, right? So I've been doing a lot of work on myself and I have a coach. So in any case, one of the habits that I have discovered about myself is when I often go to the fridge. I don't know. Do you do this? I often go to the fridge. I'm not even freaking hungry, but I go to the fridge and I open it and I'm like looking, ooh, what am I going to put? What am I going to shove in my head? I through work, through the inside job, right? Through work, I figured out that I go to the fridge because I don't know what to do next. Like I'm on the cusp of something big and I don't want to do it because I could make a mistake either way, right? So now when I go to the fridge, I recognize this pattern and this habit. It happened last week, Amanda. So it happened to me last week, and I've known this now for over 2 years. And when that happened to me, I immediately left the kitchen and I'm like, go sit back at your desk because you're about to do something brilliant and you know you are, so quit delaying. And so I was able
That's
to
so good.
redirect myself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. Like, building that discipline muscle so you can really trust yourself to follow through. Circling back to what we were talking about earlier, it sounds an awful lot like self-leadership
Hmm.
from within.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Lizette, what is the best way for people to follow you?
So I am on LinkedIn and I typically post there a couple times a week. So if you want to get in touch with me, find me on LinkedIn. It's the new social hallway globally. So that's like the new hangout.
Totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. And dear listener, we'll make sure to have Dr. Warner's links below so you can check out her website and everything else as well. Thank you so much for being here on the show.
Thank you, Amanda, for the conversation. This was great. I enjoyed it.
Yes, I agree. And hey, Listener, if you loved it, make sure you hit that subscribe button, right? Because you don't want to miss another episode. And if you loved this, make sure you grab the episode link for wherever you're listening and share it with 3 of your dear friends. You can text it over to them, you can send it on DM, but let them listen to this short episode so that they can activate that thing that is within themselves. And hey, if you've been listening and you're loving the show, one of the best things you can do for us is leave a rating. If you could leave an honest review wherever you happen to be listening to this, we are so grateful for anybody who does that because it helps other people to decide whether they want to spend time with us too. With all of this being said, we've got another episode around the corner and I can't wait to see you in that one. But until then, make sure you do what matters.